Hey guys, and welcome back to the Same Shit Different Day podcast. I am your host, Sacramento, and today I wanted to bring up the topic of the World Cup. Recently, Netflix released a documentary of FIFA corruption, and I did watch the whole thing, and I just wanted to bring up some points with the the World Cup coming up very soon, or if by the time you're listening to this, it may have already started. Um, but basically, in full of the documentary, it's it's just basically how FIFA started with their corruption, um, and it mainly stems from one man named Sepp Blatter, Joseph F. Sepp Blatter, and a lot of you may know this man, um, and many of you guys don't. And it's just crazy to see how the world of corruption is in everything. It's a sport that I love a lot, and to find out that this was going on behind the scenes in such a big tournament that involves the whole world. This is governments are corrupting their countries because they want to host the World Cup, and the benefits that come with that, the money, the revenue, the tourism that comes with that. It's it's insane what you see in these documentaries that they have, and just basically to kind of break it down for you guys, it's almost like if it was a mafia or a cult, really, where like the highest up um, controls everything. And you always ask questions and scratch your head, if it was a one term thing, because then you can think about it the next term we can get someone in and make things different, make things better. But he was the president of the FIFA, um, I guess you could say, of FIFA. And he, since 1978, he was in power. Um, and they kind of go throughout how this voting happens. It's very similar to any other voting you would do for a committee. There's ballots. You go up there, you take your vote, they count the votes, and how they break it down in the countries and how this man was in power. You could just think of it like this: if he knows running for the next candidacy and he wants his votes, he's going to go to those countries and saying, "Hey, if you vote for me, I will bring a World Cup to you," which is what he did, with South Africa World Cup, what he did with the now Qatar World Cup and the Russia World Cup. Not a lot of people see these, I guess, conferences or elections, but when Russia was elected their World Cup, no one expected that. USA were the front runners to host that World Cup. They had all the transportation, they had all the hotels, the roads, the stadiums. They had the capacity to do everything, and they just had to make a bid and make their stand on the World Cup better than anyone else. And the fact that Russia knew, and people have come out saying that their roads were going to be a major issue for the World Cup. They're not the best to uphold that much, I guess, vehicle transportation. Their roads aren't the best. And that just might be like a simple reason, really. It doesn't sound like a good reason, but that's still, when you're competing on where to host a World Cup nation, you want to have the best possible. And, that was, everyone thought, USA is going to win. It's the most logical choice. But then when the voting came to an end, and it sounds weird, they did two World Cups in one go. They did the next one for 2018 and the next one for 2022. And USA wanted 2018. And, you know, the government from Russia, you got to think of it. We have Putin, Vladimir Putin, if I'm even saying his name right. But look at what's going on right now with Russia. Like, it's crazy to think about this guy in 2018 was hosting a World Cup for the whole entire, all the nations coming there, and now he's literally at war with Ukraine. And would anyone like not second guess that there's corruption there, that he paid off Sepp Blatter to win that election? Look at how much money he has now, how many resources he has now accessible to him. Like, this is just years and years of him accumulating all this money to what he actually wanted to do, which is to grow his empire, his Russian empire. And now with the fact that Qatar won, keep in mind the World Cup wasn't supposed to be held in this time of the year. We were supposed to have it in the summer. And that was the main issue from a lot of people. If I'm going to go see the World Cup and it's 115 and 105 degree weather there, how is that going to be suitable for players, playing in high performances? They're gonna die of heat stroke and exhaustion. Like, we're pushing them so far. And now that we have it in November, there's not that question of the heat anymore, but it was still baffled by everyone that Qatar won. And again, if you want to see what these elections were like and the surprised faces, I highly recommend just go to Netflix and watch the new FIFA doc that came out. And it just blows your mind how everything is interweaved like a spider web, that there's a hand in every single pocket. And the reason why so many careers have not, for the footballers, because ultimately is what they're always saying is they care about the young footballers and the younger generation. The fact that they are the ones not benefiting from all of this, that is just going to the pockets of all these elected presidents and these committees, and they just keep making money over. Like, governments are breaking their neck trying to get the next World Cup. There's going to be some corruption in there. We can't accept that anymore in this now day and age, that everyone's a saint in these positions that hold power, because we just don't believe it anymore. Time and time after, again and again, they've proven to us that they cannot, hold that responsibility. I mean, let's quote Spider-Man here for his quotes. With great power comes great responsibility. And we've never really seen that in a person in power. There's always some other side of them that they're doing something shady or they're doing something corrupt. And when it comes to uniting a world, you would think there would be some sort of give back, like we're just happy for what we have, and we want to do more for the world. But just the way that they break it down, it's insane how the corruption has been going on for years. This isn't the past 5 years or 10 years. This has been going on since the World Cup was started in 1930. 1930 was the first World Cup. Now, back then, the fact that a lot of the black players could not play in this World Cup, and they would not want to host a World Cup anywhere near Africa. Like, that's not how they pictured the world. They thought, this is a football that belongs to Europe, and they were just very arrogant. And when they opened their doors more to the whole, to everyone, it just started becoming more and more corrupt after that. Like, if you want me to do this for you, then how much are you going to give me? And it's just going back and forth with all of that. It's insane to see all this corruption. I guess you could say it's a lot of frustration to see, and it's everywhere. And now, to bring up some details and some facts, to get everyone on the same page, um, we can talk about another World Cup. For example, in 1978 was the World Cup was held in Argentina. Now, when they broke up, I mean, I'm not a history nerd or anything like that, but I love to learn about history and things that have happened in the past. I didn't know that in the 1970s, Argentina had a dictatorship government. Um, and the way that they were ruling things, and the way that they treated their citizens for years, um, they thought they could make up for it by bringing a World Cup there to make their citizens more, I guess, forgetful of the things that have been happening, so they can continue in their power. It's always divert their eyes, give them something they want while we do something else in the background. And so this dictatorship, again, at this point, FIFA was already corrupt in the 1970s, that they were accepting multiple sponsorships to get more and more money, and to create more publicity for the World Cup. And so when they were hosting for the 1978, again, they have to do the same thing. They have to elect the next country to host the World Cup. And when Argentina won it, again, it was breaking necks. Like, what is going on? Looking around like, how is the dictatorship government? How are we going to hold the World Cup there? And it's funny that Argentina won the World Cup that year too. It's insane how we've come through all of this, and it's just years and years of trusting them to do the right thing, but no transparency. Never any transparency. It's always when they're getting criticized, they're coming out saying, no, this is not, nothing is there. We have implemented this, we have implemented that. And there's always frustration that comes out of them, that they're trying to divert it into something else, to gaslight something else, to make the attention and not towards them. And the fact that it's been working for all these years, it's crazy to see. It's, to me, football has always been bringing communities together. I've played with people that I can't hold a conversation with. I don't know what what language they're speaking, but we come together and we play a beautiful game, and you make a friend out of that at the end of the game, and you come back and you play again the next week, and you actually start learning more. Like, there's never any borders when it comes to football. Everyone can come together just to play an amazing game. And the fact that they've robbed that from a lot of people, and they're holding a World Cup that's not going to support the LGBT community is insane. Like, you're saying that you're not going to provide any security for any for this community. That you're not going to accept any of that. But when you bidded for the World Cup, you knew you were inviting the whole world. So you can't deny that from people coming into your country. You have to, they have gone on record and said that there are people who are humble when they have tourists come, and they love to show off their country. So why are you doing that to a specific group? And you have to respect people's religion. I completely understand that. But what about the respect for a human being? It's still there. taking religion away from everything, everyone is a human being. We all are going to die. We're all going to live our lives. Why not live it together? Why have those labels that you wouldn't protect a certain person because they have a different partner than you have? That's not fair, you know. And the fact that they also treat their women, you know, the way that they do is, it's insane. I've always believed that women should be in power in this world, and the fact that women were oppressed for years, that they had to fight for this position. Not a lot of men stood up to fight. You know, women had to stand up for them, for themselves. And I think it's time now that men do stand up for women. You know, they do so much. They provide life, guys. Like, come on. Like, we can't do that. We can't make life. That's it. It's as simple as that. And I just think that there should just be a bigger respect for women, and to have a World Cup in Qatar where they're not doing any of these, you know, basic human rights. And the World Cup should stand for that, and that it's being hosted there. You know, it's insane. You know, they were money in pockets, and it's a shame to see that they didn't even overturn it. That, hey, we found out some crazy corrupt stuff, we're gonna take this World Cup away from you, and they just didn't. You know, things were in place. They decided to just continue with it. And here we are now. The World Cup's away, a few days away now. And, you know, I think this should be brought up as well, that we shouldn't just focus on, you know, this is Messi's and Ronaldo's last World Cup. You know, we want them to win something. And I just think that out of everything, there's going to be a lot of stories on the deaths of all of the workers for the stadiums, that they keep trying to cover that up, that they were just minor accidents, that's not just the whole entire total, and just misleading the numbers. And of course, you know, that's the only logical explanation that they would do for a PR stunt, that, oh, the numbers are lying. That's not the truth. And they don't go in depth in it. You know, it's shady stuff when that happens. But I love football. I'm going to be watching it along the way. But I think we should also stand up and speak about these issues, because it's human rights, you know. I see footballers like Bruno Fernandes just talked about it in an interview, that as footballers, they're seeing this as well, the deaths of workers, and that's not how they want to go about things. They want to come together, and that just shows you the people who play it are different than the people who are running it. They understand that there are no borders. You know, you can talk to anyone and create a friend. For example, in that interview, Bruno Fernandes was speaking with Christian Eriksen in an interview, and he's Danish and he's Portuguese, and they have created a great friendship on the field. They have a great understanding, but they speak two different languages. And the fact that they can come together, it just shows you what a community that can be. And the fact that we're not respecting any of that is just, you know, it just needs to be talked about. And you see it a lot now. You know, everyone's training in Qatar. The teams are arriving. Now there'll be more press conferences. So we'll see how many players actually speak up about it. And, you know, I think everyone should be made aware of this. And yeah, I just hope that we can all come together and understand more of this tournament. And especially because it will be coming to the United States in 2026. I think it's going to be huge in the United States. This sport has been growing, and now that it's coming back here, I think it's gonna grow even more. There's going to be even a bigger uproar of football here, and um, I'm just happy to see that it'll be in a place where all countries are welcome. The United States has always welcomed everyone to come here and to live, to try to live their best life. I'm not going to say that United States is the best, because we are at fault of corruption here as well. There's a lot of things behind the scenes with our government. And, I know the same thing that I was saying about the other countries wanting to have that revenue, that financial revenue of hosting a World Cup. I'm pretty sure that was in the back of United States' minds as well. I'm just saying that this is a country that's more open-minded with their women and their LGBT community. It's more accepting of that, and I feel like it's going to be safer for people to be here in that aspect. And I'm excited just to see people from all over the world coming here, supporting their countries, me learning about their countries, and playing football with them. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I just can't wait for it. But that's mostly it for the World Cup. I guess you could say that was a rant. It's just me venting to you guys on on my aspect on how this sport has been open. My eyes have been open to the things in the background. I felt like I was blind, thinking that nothing was going on with FIFA. Just thinking that they stand for good, they stand for the world. But they actually stand for the money in their pockets. And it's insane to see, and hopefully the new president can be more transparent and all these things in the voting for the next World Cup after the United States is more transparent, and no more pockets being lined with money. And it's just really sad to see the careers of a lot of players not taking off because of that. And like I said, I highly recommend you guys watch it. It's on Netflix. It's 4 episodes, and it just goes in depth of the spiderweb cult mentality that they had in FIFA. It's sad to see. But another topic, I guess you could say breaking news and everything. I am a little late to the conversation, but I also did want to talk about this because it's another big aspect in football with Cristiano Ronaldo recently, I guess, released interview. Not fully released. We're expecting it on Wednesday to come out in full, a full 90 minutes. So they're going to do Wednesday and Thursday. But if you haven't heard of the name Cristiano Ronaldo, I don't know where you have been, because anyone in the sport world will have heard of his name. He's pretty popular. He has he's the most influential person on Instagram. I think he has the most followers, and he has done an interview saying that he has felt betrayed by his club, Manchester United. And I believe everyone has the right to speak. That's kind of what I'm doing here for my podcast. I feel like, I would love to speak and to the community, and I have a platform where I can do that. Cristiano Ronaldo has that platform, which is him. He's made himself into what he is today. And when he speaks, a lot of people will listen. And the fact that he's saying that he feels betrayed by his club and that he has no respect for his manager is a bombshell. It's I don't think anyone expected this before the World Cup. And it's just a little bit egotistic, not a little bit. It's a lot egotistical to kind of make it about you, and not speak up what you're saying, like what you're talking about is I understand it. You're speaking out about a club that hasn't made any changes from the past 20 years. If you didn't know, Cristiano Ronaldo played for United when he was in his 20s. He started off his career. Well, his career blew up in Manchester United, and when he left to Real Madrid, and then to Juventus, now he's 37, back at Manchester United. He's saying that he hasn't seen the club progress since he has left, and you expect a club to make changes to improve their training ground, improve their what this is his words, his kitchen staff, their recovery, which will be their jacuzzi, their pool. You expect a multi-million-dollar club with the revenue that they have to have a state of the art training ground. And he is right in what he is saying. You see this in clubs like Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, that they're not just focusing on the players that they're bringing in, but they're focusing on building within. They're creating things for their players to have an easier time at training, to recover faster, to be better, because that is where they are almost 24/7, is at the training ground. And to see that hasn't been improved is a shocker. Now, bringing up past quotes from other players, similar to what Ronaldo was saying about the club, because I'll bring up what he's saying about the manager in a second. But Zlatan Ibrahimovic has also criticized the owners and the club. Alexis Sanchez has said the same thing. His first day in the training ground, he went to his agent and he said, "Is there any way we can tear up this contract because I have made a mistake?" There is something going on behind the scenes with the club and the owners that we do not see. That's how it is in a lot of places. They're hiding things from the media that they don't want people to know, and that's everyone's shit stinks. It's someone will not want people to know what's going on, so they're gonna hide, like, no, nothing's going on. Yeah, no, it was just a stupid time. No, nothing happened. And so that same mentality is, of course, what and owners will do for any company or club. Oh no, that's just a lie. Nothing's going on, and they're just gonna sweep things under the rug. It happens, but there has to be changes. There has to be improvements if you have that much money and you're contracting superstars. They have egos, and with egos comes expectations, and they're expecting to have this. I mean, if you're a football player and you get your shot at Manchester United, and you look at the training ground and you think, "Oh, I'm going to play for this big club." Excuse me. You expect to have, everything there. You expect to have your recovery there, your training ground there, to be in the best performances, not working with 20-year-old equipment, that's still there. That's a little bit shady, I guess you can say, that they haven't made those improvements. And there's a lot of stuff in the background, I think we won't know until the owners either sell the club or kicked out of their position. I'm not entirely sure, but I think the one thing, a lot of people should take from Cristiano Ronaldo's interview when it does come out is focus on what he's talking about, the Glazer family, which are the owners of Manchester United. Now, if you're American and you hear the Glazer family and you watch the NFL, that might concern you a bit, because they are actually the owners of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have a player like Tom Brady in their team. So are these owners more focused on their NFL team or their multi-million-dollar company overseas, Manchester United? Where would they be funneling more money? On their home ground or overseas, where they're making a lot a lot of revenue because Manchester United is one of the biggest clubs in the world. They have that commercial status that everyone, knows. They made a big name in their history when they've won many Champions League trophies and Premier League trophies. That's where they got their world name. And the fact that you just don't see that passion from the owners. They have only been to one game this season, which was the opening game. And if we take Wrexham FC, which we recently talked about in one of the first podcasts, actually, their owners Rob McAlely and Ryan Reynolds, they are so involved in that club. They even made a whole series themselves on how they had their upbringing with the club, how much they respect the community, because they know that they are a public image there that they were not a part of before. They came out of nowhere to join a Welsh team, and they're Americans, and they have a lot of money. People are going to question them. But the fact that they came out openly and transparent about it on what they wanted to do, that's what made them accept them as owners. We've never heard that from the Glazer family. I'm not sure if they've said that to any Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans. If you have, I'd love you guys to reach out to me and we could have a conversation about this, because I want to know how they're treating their team there. I mean, I haven't done much reading on how they've been with the NFL, but how they're treating Manchester United in the English Premier League, it's not the best. It compared to the other big clubs in Europe, Manchester United as a club are miles behind. And now that they have this coach that the fans are behind, a lot of the players are behind. We're having this trust in the coach, but all of that is for nothing if you don't have the backing of your owners. They're the ones that are going to provide you the players. If they said that we spent a lot last season, you got to play with the players you have. That's not it. We can't do that. The players are coming back from a World Cup that everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to win a World Cup as a player. And they're going to come back tired and expect their coach to give them the same. You have to make choices on who you're going to get to help boost your club for the second part of the season. This is the issue many clubs are seeing right now. What are we going to do when the players come back? Are too many players going to be fatigued? How many injuries are going to happen? Because there's only so far you can push the body to before something breaks. So that's also going to be interesting to see after the World Cup or during the World Cup, how many injuries, people just giving it their all and, something happens. But that's it for this episode, guys. That's all I really had. It was just basically a rant here. And a lot of things are going on. The World Cup is going to be starting soon. I really want to do another podcast about this World Cup. Maybe after we get through the knockout stages, and see what teams are still there. I'm going to be honest here. I think Brazil will win it. I want Argentina to win it. Of course, Messi, I think he has a big chance. He seems to be extremely motivated to do it this year. So I feel like all of Argentina is behind Messi. I can't see Ronaldo doing much out of the group stage. I feel like he's just going to be focused on himself, trying to score a lot of goals to make himself available, like a good price on the market, so he can get to a good team, because he clearly still wants to play at the top level. Oh, and on the fact of what he said about the manager, that he doesn't respect him because Eric Ten Hag hasn't shown any respect to Ronaldo. It just sounds like a baby. It sounds like I've done this and this and this my whole life. I should have respect automatically given to me. And the previous coach, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I know I probably said that wrong. He is Norwegian, but Ole was a previous teammate to Ronaldo when they were playing together back in the day. And the fact that he was the manager at the time when Ronaldo came to United, I feel like he probably thought he could manipulate him to get him on the starting team consistently, no matter what he would say on the training ground. Not performing on the training, I'm not entirely sure because I wasn't there at the training ground. But when he was sacked from his position, they brought in another coach, Ralf Ragnick, to finish off the rest of the year. And then he made comments on that coach, saying that he didn't even know who he was. United should be bringing bigger coaches than that. And I thought Ralph was a great coach, and his philosophies and what he was trying to do and build. But he was just portrayed as a villain because of the comments he said that the club need open heart surgery. And owners didn't like that. But he was, I guess you could say, a harder coach on his policies compared to Ole, who was very easygoing. He never really had a plan, so he kind of just, told the players to go out there and do their best. And so Ronaldo, I guess, he kind of took it upon himself to be one of the top scorers last season. And, he thought that was enough to guarantee his starting spot this season. But with a new manager, Erik ten Hag said, no, you got to prove that. You got to show me. And he has not, because he's only scored, I think, 2 goals this season. One against a lower division team that, not a lot of people have heard of, and in the Europa League. And I think one in the I'm not even sure if he scored in the Premier League. But he just hasn't been there. And when the team plays without him, everyone knows we play better without him. It's clear. It's miles clear that as a team, they play better without Ronaldo in that position. But again, I think that's just it. It's a lot going on this World Cup. We'll come back to it, of course. If you want to reach out to me on Twitter, that's SSDD_podcast, or you can follow us on Instagram at SSDD_pod. And you can reach out to me on there, and we can have a conversation, or we can bring you onto the podcast as well. Again, this is a community for all. I want to bring more people on here and to talk about, any topic really. This is just more about me. This is a thing that I love. So yeah, thank you all for listening. I appreciate you all. And again, I've been your host, Sacramento, and this has been the Same Shit Different Day podcast.